you travelers, you're listening to Great West Vacation with Kristen Cummings, your source for all things travel, especially to the Western United States. We will talk about all things off the beaten path to my favorite part of the country, as well as take you on our adventures beyond. You will hear creative travel ideas, inspirational destinations, clever travel tips from a local, as well as outdoor adventures for solo travelers, families, and couples. You can always find more information on our website at www.greatwestvacation.com. Hey, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate you turning in to episode 3 of the Great West Vacation podcast. And this is actually part 2 of a 2-episode interview with my son, Ryan, who was telling us about what it's like to travel to Thailand as a teenager and leave the country for the first time as a teenager. So if you've not checked out episode 2 yet, that would be the first part of his interview. That's confusing because we only have a couple episodes. So check that out. He talks about what his anxieties were ahead of time. He talks about what it's like to travel so far across the world to a new culture, and about our time in Bangkok and with the hill tribes and visiting an elephant sanctuary. So in this episode, we'll continue from there. So also while we were in Chiang Mai, we went to the Chiang Mai night market, which is where we tried scorpion for the first time. Do you remember that?
I do. It was that was definitely one of the highlights of the trip, was getting to go to the night market. And I feel like all of my highlights are like food and shopping. And so it was just really, really crazy because it was huge. And it was like there was permanent buildings everywhere. It was like a serious market. And we found a little corner where it was like a bunch of like food stalls, and that's where we got the scorpion from. And I just remember it being really, really crunchy.
Yeah, it actually made your lip bleed. Like that, you took a claw to the lip.
Yeah, I remember that now. I did take a claw to the lip, and it did make it bleed, and it was just, I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it.
You said it wasn't so bad though. It was like over-fried turkey skin.
Yeah, it wasn't
in texture.
Yeah, but it's like I wouldn't choose to eat over-fried turkey skin.
Probably not.
Yeah,
unless you're really hungry. And then we'd also eat, I think it's roti, right? Like it's like a pancake banana thing covered in sweetened condensed milk. We ate that several times on the trip, and it was delicious.
Yeah, it was good.
And then Ryan and his younger brother and I all got fish pedicures. We
did. That was really interesting.
It was fun. Silly fun. And nothing more to say about that.
It was just silly fun.
It was just good old silly fun. And we did a bunch of shopping.
We did. We bought a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And we talked about how up in the hill tribes, there's not a lot of English speakers. But once you're in the city, especially in touristy areas like these markets, everybody speaks English. At least enough English to get shopping done or find out where the bathroom is or be able to order food. Not speaking the language was never an issue for us on this trip.
Yeah. I feel like the only time it ever was an issue was at that night market. We were trying to get a ride back.
No, yeah.
This is what I feel like was the most sketchy part of our trip.
Yeah, it was pretty sketchy.
Trying to get a ride back to our
Airbnb.
Can't remember if it was a hotel or not.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like a taxi system.
It's those Songta trucks that I was mentioning that are like a pickup truck with benches in the back.
Yeah. And so they have an app that's almost like Uber.
Yeah. It's called Grab.
It's just like Uber. You get a ride and then they'll show up. But we didn't know how to give instructions to our driver about where we were. So it was like it was just a lot of like, oh, is that him? Oh no, that's not him. Is that him? Oh no, that's not him. And then
And let me paint this picture a little more. So right at midnight, almost like Cinderella, the night market closes, and what was a bustling, busy, crazy, happy, fun place goes immediately dark, and everybody disappears right at midnight. Like, I don't even know how these vendors do it, but they get their stuff packed up and disappeared so quickly that all of a sudden it's 12:02 and we are alone in downtown Chiang Mai on a dark street, not realizing how we're going to get home and not even able to read the street signs because they're written in Thai. Right?
Yeah, it was really, really scary. That was the only time I ever felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
During this trip. But eventually, I see a driver pull over and
wave at us.
Then there was another driver that pulled right up next to us and was like, I'll give you a ride. And then so we get into that driver's vehicle, and then he starts driving off, and we realize that's not the driver that we hired on the app.
Yeah.
It's a completely different guy, and the guy that like was driving around for like 2 minutes, like doing laps looking for us, was probably still over there looking for us.
Yeah, we felt really bad because we had ordered a driver and we ended up confused and going with somebody else.
Yeah.
And the somebody else actually cost double. But in Thailand, everything is so affordable. Double means $5 instead of $2.50. So, yeah, taxi rides aren't a big deal over there. But it was for about 5 or 10 minutes as we're wondering how we're going to tell the driver where to find us. It was a little stressful, for sure.
I feel like giving directions was definitely one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah, but even with that said, being in downtown Chiang Mai in the dark, not knowing where we are and not speaking the language in the middle of the night, still felt safer to me than being like in downtown Denver in the middle of the night. Wouldn't you say?
I would say that, yeah.
I didn't feel endangered. I just felt like, holy cow, how are we going to get home?
Right.
So we had a pretty cool Airbnb while we were there. It was a 4 or 5 bedroom house all to ourselves that even had like washer and dryer, which is pretty hard to find, and air conditioning. Those 3 things are it's not impossible, but they are harder to find when you're looking at Airbnbs in Thailand. And this place with 4 or 5 bedrooms, and for sure everybody had their own room, was about $30 a night. And that's just what things run over there. They are so inexpensive. And then to boot, they had created these little handmade, hand-woven little coin purses for each of us. They were so cute. One of my favorite souvenirs from the whole trip, made by the owner of the Airbnb. So
yeah.
And then we had a day where we went and visited like the paper umbrella factory, the silk factory, teakwood carving factory.
They were just out in the middle of nowhere almost, like you just turn the corner and you're like, oh, it's an umbrella place. Okay. And, oh, it's a banana chip place. Okay. Like, it was just like really insane how,
these little artists and vendors are just kind of everywhere.
Yeah. And it was really cool.
Well, it was neat to go to the umbrella factory and see how they actually make the paper that goes onto the umbrellas. And then they had all these artists that were hand painting all the flowers onto the umbrellas and making them beautiful. And they would even paint on your stuff if you wanted a little take-home souvenir. Did you get anything painted there?
I did. I got my phone case painted. And it was really cool. There's just a whole room of people that were just painting your phone case. And you'd go over and you're like, oh, I like this artist's designs that he does. So you just give him your phone case and he's like, just painting it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Cost like $3 or something like that. It was really cool. And then we went to this beautiful place in the jungle called the Sticky Waterfalls. Tell us about that.
So the Sticky Waterfalls were really interesting. It's this massive collection of waterfalls so the rocks there are like it's a certain kind of rock that just like it's really weird how well like your feet grip to it. There's like from the bottom to the top of those waterfall, there's a bunch of ropes, and you just grab a rope and just walk up the waterfall.
Yeah.
And
it was really refreshing, wasn't it?
It was really, really nice. And it was like refreshingly cold and stuff like that. And it was just really cool to see all the Thai people there as well. Cause there were people that were like bathing their pet hedgehog in it. And
it definitely seemed like a local hangout, I thought.
Yeah.
It seemed like there was a lot more locals there than tourists, which is always nice.
Right.
So after our time in Chiang Mai, we flew to Krabi, which is down in the Thai island area, and stayed at a resort. And probably one of my favorite stories to come out of this resort that we stayed at is after a long day of traveling, I set the alarm for 5 o'clock in the morning to get the whole family up so we could go watch the sunrise. Why don't you tell us about that sunrise, Ryan?
So I was pretty excited to see the sunrise, you know, getting up really nice and early to see a sunrise on a beach, you know, that...
Just like in the movies.
Yeah, just like in the movies. And it looked like the movies, too, you know. The water was so blue. It was so amazing, you know. And I was really excited to get up, push through my mono, and get up early to go watch the sunrise. Everyone's all groggy and stuff, like trying to, like, oh, I'm hungry, I want breakfast first. We all, like, bustle out to the beach, and the first thing that was wrong was there wasn't a single person on the beach to watch the sunrise.
But we just thought we were lucky. Like, wow, we have this beach and the sunrise all to ourselves.
Yeah, and then we after, like, 5 minutes, we start looking around, and we're like... The sun is rising behind us.
We are on the wrong side of the continent for this sunrise.
So,
whoops.
We're
Sorry.
all like, you know, some people are grumpy about it. We all go back to the hotel room.
Well, we explored for a while. We enjoyed the dawn and having the beach to ourselves, and you know, the tide was low, so we could pick up shells and crabs. And in exploring and walking up the shore, we found the most bizarre / creepy art installation just out of the blue in the side of the sea cliff. Tell us about that.
So we are walking for like 5 minutes around this cliff, just to see where this path that's just leading down the beach goes to. And you turn the corner, and there is a massive box that is like chrome in color, and it's just a big mirror. And we are like, what the heck is that? And so we walk towards this box, and we realize that it's like a tube, like there's something in it. And we like turn the corner, and there is a like statue of like an old lady in it, and it is the most horrifying thing.
It's not even like a statue, like it's like a model
doll.
Like, yeah, like she's life size, and she's got hair and clothes blowing in the wind, like, and we couldn't tell because of the shadow and how dark and creepy it was inside. We couldn't tell if she was real at first.
It was really, really crazy. And
it was an unusual art installation, but we ended up going back a few times because it was cool. And I will say it was super cool at sunset, which is really what you go to the beach for on that side of the continent. Am I right?
Yes, the sunsets on the beach were beautiful.
They were just beautiful, weren't they? So the next morning we got up early and we went to the Tiger Cave Temple with all the monkeys. This was actually probably my most memorable part of the trip, but I want to hear your perspective.
So it was hot.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 100 degrees
Maybe,
out.
yeah.
And
100% humidity.
Yeah, very hot, very humid. And it's at the top of a mountain. and there is like, how many stairs? It's like 1,000 or 3,000.
I think it's like 1,300 or 1,500 stairs to the top.
About 1 million stairs to get to the top.
11 billion.
Yeah, and they're not like even steps either. They're like big steps.
Mm-hmm. Some of them are like thigh high steps, so it's more like hiking over boulders in some parts.
And so you're just like looking down, trying not to trip, going up these stairs, and it's just a line of people going up almost. And you look up and there's like monkeys crawling all over the guardrails and stuff, and it is really crazy how close they'll get to you.
Yeah, they'll touch you.
Yeah, they'll touch you.
They'll play with your toes. They'll steal from your backpack, grab your phone.
Yeah. Like we saw a monkey like take someone's water bottle.
Yeah. But they're cute.
Yeah, they're so cute.
They're really aggressive though. Yeah. Not in a mean way, just in a they will take your iPhone and run off if you're not careful.
Right. So it was really cool seeing all the monkeys climbing up to the top of this temple, and we finally get to the top of the temple, and we are so exhausted. It is so hot, so humid, and like only half of us have water. And so we wait in this massive line because there is a hose at the top of the mountain that people are refueling water bottles at, and we're just like, oh my gosh, we need water. It was just really hot, but the temple was gorgeous.
Yeah. Technically, the Tiger Cave Temple is in a cave at the bottom of this mountain. But there is a Buddha statue up at the top, and he's huge. And then you're overlooking Krabi from the top of that mountain as well.
It was just really beautiful. And then we went down and we went into the actual temple. It was a super cool temple. We got to go into the Tiger Cave, and it's literally a cave, and you have to like watch your head because you will hit your head on a rock. It was a super cool thing to see, though.
Yeah, and monks were in there doing blessings, and just a lot of history in that cave. We saw a lot of temples, and I think that was my favorite. Would you say it was yours?
Yeah, I would say it is up there for sure.
Doi Sutep in Chiang Mai is also really cool with the dragon stairs going all the way to the top.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. And it was...
So another thing that we did that day after climbing up to Tiger Cave, we went on a sunset cruise on like a Chinese junk boat, like old-timey war boat, with like a little bit of a pirate feel on board. And
it was a booze cruise.
It did end up being like a booze cruise. I was kind of surprised. It wasn't necessarily like all younger people. There were certainly children that are younger than mine and people that are older than me, but it was technically a booze cruise. They just didn't market it that way. But it was beautiful. We got to go see a bunch of the islands, Thai islands that we wanted to see. We got to go snorkeling. I'm going to let Ryan share his snorkeling experience because he had a unique one.
So the boat would do like a big loop around a few of the islands. And the first snorkeling place, they stop the boat, but nothing is going on. So immediately people know that there's like something going on because the boat is stopped. And there's just one of the guides gets in the water, and then he gets right out, and he comes back on, and they're just like, okay, we're going around to the other side of the island because there is jellyfish in this water. Like, that instantly freaked me out because, like, I don't know about anyone else, but like that scene in Finding Nemo with all the jellyfish.
Oh yeah,
that impacted me. I was like, you can't touch those things.
That's some childhood trauma right there.
Yeah. So we boat around for another 10 minutes, and because it's not the fastest boat in the world, to the other side of this little island. And they get in, and they're like, okay, it's good. So then they're like, the reef is way over there, and you can swim there or you can paddle boat there, and like we'll paddle boat you over there. And you know, me like being all like, oh, I'm super cool, I'm gonna swim over there.
And mom being super cool is like, yeah, me too.
Yeah. And we're like, we're not Aaron.
Yeah, that's right. Big brother can go on the paddleboard.
Yeah.
We're swimming like rock stars.
So we start swimming over, and like I've never swam in like deep ocean water before.
Yeah, ever.
But it is horrifying. I'm not a big fan of the ocean.
Takes some getting used to.
It does take some getting used to, for sure. But we all had life vests on, so we were staying on top of the water. And what also stays near the top of the water is jellyfish. So on the way there, I saw like 2 jellyfish out of my peripheral, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a jellyfish. I was like, that's so cool. I love jellyfish.
What do they look like underwater?
They look like plastic bags.
Yeah, like pink.
Yeah.
Pink trash bags.
Yeah, and they're not like bright pink either. Like they're hard to they're like really hard to see sometimes.
Yeah, you have to be right up on them before you see them.
Yeah. So we go to the reef, and it's so cool. There's like fish everywhere. It's pretty colorful. There's like sea urchins you try not to step on. Yeah. And it was just really pretty. And then after like they cut our like swimming short in that reef, because they were like, there's more and more jellyfish showing up every second that we're here. So they start paddling everyone back, and they just assume that I would swim back with the other people that are swimming back. And
I actually think that you, me, and Jason, your stepdad, I think we were the only 3 that swam back.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And it was getting darker.
Yeah.
It was hard to see.
No, I actually think this is not true.
Oh.
I think in your memory, it was like a dark and stormy night.
It was.
I think it was probably 2 p.m.
Okay. So, okay.
Yeah. But carry on.
The water was really cloudy.
Sure,
it was hard
to
see in the water. We did have goggles on, but you couldn't see 2 feet in front of you. Mm-hmm. So you would be swimming, looking in the water for jellyfish, and then every once in a while you'd have to come above water to find where the boat is so you can keep going in the right direction. And it was like a maze. Like, you'd be like, okay, there's like 8 jellyfish in a line over there, so I have to swim around this big pile of jellyfish. And
at one point we were surrounded, me, you, and Jason.
Yeah, and I was in fight or flight mode.
Yeah, and I was in really good mom mode, and I was like, it's each man for himself, and took off. Yeah, like a really good mom.
Like, I didn't even realize we were all surrounded, because I was like, okay, mom and Jason are just doing their own thing.
Yeah, we were just in survival mode.
I can't remember if you guys got to the boat before I did.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
But eventually, I'm like 10 feet away from the boat. No, like 20 feet away from the boat. And I just see all the guides like pointing and yelling, because I've come above the water to find where the boat is, and they're all pointing in the water, yelling at me. And I look underwater, and there is a jellyfish that is literally hugging my chest almost. It just brushes across my front, and it stings me right in my elbow, and I freak out because I'm like I couldn't swim anywhere because there was a jellyfish in front of me. And I can't swim down because I'm in a life vest, so I felt very trapped. And so it got my elbow pretty good, and it stung. Like, it wasn't pleasant at all.
No. So what did that feel like?
It feels like...
I mean, not the sting itself, but I think most of us will never touch a jellyfish.
Okay. The jellyfish it was harder than you'd think.
Oh.
It was hard. It wasn't, like, hard, but it wasn't soft. It wasn't, like...
It wasn't
Jell-O.
like tissue paper, because that's
like
kind of what I pictured.
Yeah, no, it was I could feel it
Solid.
was there. Yeah. And then it stung me, and it was really quick because I freaked out. So I just like I jerked, and then like next thing I know, I was on the boat. But yeah, like the sting felt like getting stung by like a wasp, I would say. Mm-hmm. Like two wasps.
Two wasps.
Yeah, at the same time.
Yeah.
And
you wore it like a badge of honor, though.
I did. I was pretty proud of it.
Yeah, you were pretty tough.
Yeah.
And you kept going over to the captain, and he'd give you vinegar to pour on it.
You kept making me go over to the captain so that he would put vinegar on it. But the vinegar, it did help it a little bit, but after you get stung, it doesn't sting anymore. It just throbs, and it's just a painful throbbing. Mm-hmm. And I think it swelled up a little bit too.
Yeah.
But that was the highlight of that boat trip.
That was the highlight.
I was pretty excited about that.
And between that and the mono, you were like tuckered out and slept the rest of the time on that boat just about. We got off in a few more places and did more snorkeling and paddleboarding and playing.
I did not.
And you don't remember it.
Nope.
So then we watched the sunset, which was awesome. It was beautiful amongst the islands.
I got to sit on the roof of the boat, just watching the sun go down, and it was really pretty.
Yeah. And then we had a huge Thai buffet, which was maybe some of my favorite Thai food we had on that trip was actually on that boat. It was just so good. And then we got an opportunity to snorkel one more time after the sunset.
And the thing about the snorkeling after this was there's a bioluminescent plankton in the water near Thailand. And so you'll go underwater, and then you can move your arm around and swing it around, and wherever it like hits, it like a bunch of plankton start glowing blue. It's really cool to see and really mesmerizing to mess around with.
Yeah. It was like just being surrounded by tiny fireflies everywhere.
I feel like the whole jellyfish situation made it just even better because nobody wanted to go into the water, so you had all of it to yourself and you could just mess around with them.
Yeah. I was proud of you for getting back in.
I was proud of myself for getting back in. But all of the guides had giant spotlights on the water around where we were to look out for jellyfish.
Yeah, they would turn the light on, do a quick jellyfish check, and then they would turn it off. And they had a guy hanging off the side of the boat with a long stick, and he would push them away as they started getting close to us. But it was cool because off in the distance, you could see like people in kayaks going through the water, and the water was just glowing underneath them.
It looked out of this world, and it was really beautiful and really cool.
Yeah, it was really something else for sure. And then we had a free day in Krabi the next day, where Ryan experienced his first Thai massage. What did you think about that? It was against his will, I might add.
It was very against my will because I'm not a huge fan of people like touching me.
He's the huggiest person I've ever known. How can you say that you're not a huge fan of people touching you?
I don't know them.
Oh, okay. Strangers?
Yeah.
I get it.
And it's just like I feel really vulnerable, you know?
Okay, I can see that. Even with a tiny Thai woman?
Yes.
Okay.
She was mean to me.
She wasn't mean to you.
She would like grab.
It's called stretching.
Yeah, she would force me to like stretch, which I'm not the most flexible person, so it was really painful. It was, but I don't know if I would do it again, but I am glad that Mom forced me to do it. It was it's a cool experience.
It was a cool experience, huh? And didn't you just feel so relaxed afterward? It was awesome. And at our resort, they had people doing Thai massage for just $10 an hour, which is actually between $8 and $10 an hour is pretty standard down there. Like, it's just amazing how affordable these things can be out there. But so Jason and I ended up getting 2 Thai massages that day. We were like totally the gluttonous Americans, but we never treat ourselves to massages, and we were like, we better hit it up. But yeah, I would say of the 3 kids, because even the little guy did a Thai massage, Ryan probably enjoyed it the least. But at the end, he was thankful that he did it. You were grateful. You said so. He's giving me a look right now like, I think I changed my mind as time goes on.
I don't think I would do it again. if I went there, you know. But I am glad that I did it.
Yeah.
Once.
Yeah. And then you and Aaron got to go off shopping and hit Krabi Beach, Ao Nang Beach, like on your own, while Jason and I continued to get massages. So that's one thing that I really loved about Thailand. I always felt safe. Like, it was not a big deal to leave a resort, and I felt comfortable sending my teenagers off to go explore and do what they want and have fun, because it's just that safe. So what did you guys do when we were having massages?
We mostly just walked around to see what everyone was selling. I did buy a hat.
Oh, I was with you for the hat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you got to share this story. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
The straw fedora story.
Okay, so that day that I bought the hat, I'd been ripped off pretty bad because I was sent on a mission to buy my little brother some t-shirts. And so I thought I got a pretty good price for these shirts, and it ends up my little brother was able to get them for like half the price that I got them for.
Of course, because he's little and cute.
Yeah, so I was pretty irked about that, but I decided that I would buy something and like prove to myself that I can haggle pretty well. So,
which is hard for Ryan because he's like a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say, okay.
He's a non-confrontational people pleaser.
Sounds like a good price to me.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
So there was a hat that I saw and I really liked it, and I wanted to get this hat. So I like asked how much. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was like she wanted it for like the equivalent of like $10, I would say.
Or 15, I think is somewhere in there, yeah.
Like, it was a lot for a hat.
In Thailand.
In Thailand.
Made of straw.
Made of straw. So I told her, I was like, how much do you think they would offer for the hat if I go to the stall like two stalls away? And she just gave me this look of like, you wouldn't. And she smacked my rear end.
Yeah, she gave him a spanking. She's like, oh! And it was so cute because she was probably 75 or 80 years old.
Yeah, and she was like
4.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
She's like, oh! And she just starts laughing.
And I got the hat for like $5.
Yeah, it was pretty cute.
I can haggle.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite interactions. It was just the cutest thing. And that's the thing, too, I love about Thai people is they're so happy. And they love to, they say Thailand's the land of smiles. And that is true. There's like dozen ways to say the word smile in the Thai language because different smiles mean different things. You have your nervous smile or your happy smile or your love smile, and they all have different names because that's how much a part of their culture smiling is. And bartering, even when you and the vendor can't come to terms or come to an agreement, it's all still done with smiles. It makes for a pleasant experience, makes you want to do more shopping than if it seemed aggressive or negative or almost like bullying, like I've experienced in some markets in other parts of the world.
Yeah. And it's also interesting how in the Thai culture, there's not a word for no. There's only a word for not yes.
Yeah, I know. It's like very positive.
Yeah. Like it's just happy.
Is it yes or not yes? Yeah, that's true. Okay. So after our time in Krabi, we flew back to Bangkok. And we were picked up at the airport by another guide, and her name is Polly. And she was equally as fantastic as our first guide. And she took us north to the city of Ayutthaya, which is actually where a bunch of old Siam ruins are. Like, it used to be the Siam capital. And then during the Burmese War, it was just destroyed. And now all that's left is the ruins from it. It's like an archaeological site now. So we went there for a day. That's where the infamous, I'm sure you've seen pictures of it, the Buddha statue head that's wrapped up in tree vines, or tree roots, I should say, lifting it off the ground. That's located in Ayutthaya. And that was a neat experience, wasn't it?
It really was, yeah.
It was just beautiful. And Polly took us to a few temples, and she walked us through all the rituals and ceremonies that go with Buddhism, as far as the offerings that you make. That was really special, I thought.
What each offering means. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting.
Yeah, between like fire and incense and
gold leaf.
Yeah, gold leaf and lotus flowers and this perfume that they make, like kind of an incense water almost. She really made sure we understood all the rituals and what we were doing, and allowed us to participate.
And above that, like, to respect the rituals as well.
Exactly.
Like, she would get on, like, disrespectful tourists and stuff about, like, showing respect.
Yep. Yeah, it was good to see her, advocate for the religion when people weren't showing respect, and reminding them that if she was to go to their country, she wouldn't be disrespectful. And she'd do that in a tactful way. But it was fun just I just liked participating like that, because, we went to a ton of temples on this trip, and you see people doing those things and it looks neat, but you don't know how, and you don't even know how to ask, or if it's even appropriate to ask, or even if it's appropriate for you to participate, or what it even symbolizes or means if you were to participate. So I really appreciated Polly taking the time to allow us to participate and tell us what it means, so that it could mean something to us too. Yeah, it was just super special, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. It was a really neat experience to be able to be immersed into their religion like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then she took us to, basically, it's this, I don't know if you would call it like a bakery or a candy shop, but Ayutthaya has a special dessert just local to that area called roti sai mai, and it's basically like a crepe, and in the crepe you put this cotton candy type stuff that it's kind of like stringy straw textured, like sugar, and flavored. And
it was really good.
Wow.
It was so good. And we ate so much of it. It's not even funny how much of it we ate, and we even took some home with us.
Oh yeah, we brought home so much of that stuff.
Yeah, it was amazing. What's really funny about it though is she took us into the building where it's all made, and it looked like a sweatshop. It was like
4-foot ceilings that you would have to bend over just to walk through this basement, and vats of sugar boiling, like really hot and dark in there, but they could put out a lot of that stuff.
And it was really good.
Yeah, and it was just cool to see how it's made and how it's packaged, and then they have this cute little storefront on the street. Yeah, that was really fun, and we definitely enjoyed that. And then after our time with Polly, we stayed at an Airbnb in Bangkok. I chose an Airbnb that was like off the tourist road, and just like local feeling, a local neighborhood. And boy, was it strange. You want to talk about accessing that Airbnb?
So we had instructions when we got the Airbnb to talk to this employee at a restaurant about getting us into the Airbnb. So we find the restaurant, we park, and we find this person, and he leads us to what looks and is advertised as a pharmacy and the next door over to this restaurant. And he just unlocks this sketchy door on the side of the building and starts leading us through this hallway.
Is there a pharmacy in there?
There's no pharmacy in this building at all. And
it's just like a dark industrial hallway.
yeah, and it's like...
And by
like,
the way, Polly was kind enough to stay with us and make sure we got all settled in, or I would have probably felt pretty sketched out following this stranger at night down this dark hallway that did not feel like an Airbnb.
Yeah, and like we finally
get to a freight elevator.
Yeah, it's like freight elevator, and we go up as high as it will go. We still have to climb like 2 sets of staircases, and find like there's like construction everywhere. There's like empty beer bottles here.
Yeah,
and there.
litter.
It's so sketchy, and finally we get to the top, and it is just gorgeous. It is the most beautiful Airbnb I've ever stayed at.
It's like a studio apartment on top of the roof. Like this cutest little studio apartment that is surrounded on all 4 sides with windows, is adorably decorated, has beautiful wraparound gardens and porches, and it was just something else. Like it looked like it was from a fairy tale, but what we had to do to get to it was really bizarre and unusual.
It was. And like every wall was made of glass almost, and it was just so beautiful.
Yeah, and then that night Ryan was super done. He was feeling the mono, wanted to sleep, so we left him behind to sleep while the rest of us went to the Bangkok night market. So he missed out on that, sadly. But what he did not miss out on was the next morning for breakfast. We had no idea where the nearest market was, and Google wasn't being much help. But we did have 2 7-Elevens. 7-Eleven is wildly popular in Southeast Asia, and we had 2 of them right next to where we were staying, right across the street from each other. Go figure. So we went to 7-Eleven, and what did we stock up on for breakfast?
Oh, just everything. There was just junk food.
Yeah.
We didn't know what half of it was because we'd never seen it before. There was like weird flavored Kit Kats. There was like
hot dog sandwich
in
the refrigerator section.
It was just the weirdest assortment of junk food in the world, and we got a lot of it too.
Heck yeah, we did.
And so we just ate all of that for breakfast. And it was good.
It was good. Got to try a lot of new things. It was pretty fun. So then we flew back home. We were sad to leave, I'm not going to lie. And the whole time we were there, my husband and I were thinking, how are we going to get back here? Like, let's do a parents only trip. And the boys, Aaron and Ryan, the 2 oldest, you guys were already talking about, like, can I come here after high school graduation? I want to do a backpacking trip. I want to come back here, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And like, I still have plans on, after I'm done with high school, taking a gap year and just spending some time in Thailand again, because it was just such an amazing experience, and I really do miss it.
That's awesome. So what were some of the biggest surprises from the trip?
I was surprised about how nice the people were, honestly, because going into a country where I don't speak the language, I don't read the language, I'm completely foreign, and knowing that like I could just go up to basically anyone and ask for help was really, really nice, and it was a great experience, as well as just traveling around the country helped me get over a lot of unneeded anxiety I've had about traveling and like public transportation. Just because like you kind of get used to having to be around people when you can't like go like walk 2 steps without running into someone in most places.
Like I think one of my biggest takeaways from the trip was just how lucky we are in America to have clean drinking water come out of the sink, because they don't over there. And water seemed like it was always an issue. Like you could not drink or even brush your teeth with the water that came out of the sink. And hotels would give you like 2 bottles of water, but we would have to conserve that for 5 of us. And otherwise, we'd need to find a 7-Eleven and buy more water. There were a few places to refill that had clean water. And even in researching scams and stuff, they said, be careful buying bottled water from street vendors, because sometimes they use old bottles, fill it with tap water, and use a lighter to melt the cap back on. So it just always seemed like water was like an issue. And it made me realize how much we take for granted here in America, that if we have our mouth open in the shower and get water in there, it's okay. Just little things like that we take for granted. So besides Thailand, you mentioned like you would maybe take a gap year. We'll talk about that later. But you mentioned you might take like a gap time, or you might take a trip to Thailand when you get out of high school. Like, are there other places you would want to visit too, or is it just all about Thailand for you?
Honestly, right now it is just about Thailand, and I feel like a lot of that is just because I've already been to Thailand, so I feel comfortable with it.
For sure.
I can see how I should probably broaden my
horizons. Yeah, I could see that. So some parents might not feel as comfortable taking kids out of the country, especially that far away to a non-English speaking country. What tips would you have for parents who might not feel comfortable taking their kids so far away from home?
I feel like education is the biggest thing. My mom made sure that I know culturally what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And of course there were rules. I couldn't just leave whenever I wanted. She always had to know where I was, But there wasn't a time when I ever felt unsafe by myself. And overall, it was a very influential experience in my life, and I'll remember it forever. And I'm really, really glad that I was able to do it now than later.
For sure. Yeah, I'm glad you were too. And I think taking you as a teenager gave you the opportunity to learn how to travel internationally in a responsible way. Because I know some people go international for the first time in college, and it's in a drunken spring break kind of way. Booze cruise, yeah. But, it's not in a respectful, let's learn the culture, let's get to know the people kind of way.
Exactly. And now I feel that I've been out of the country in that way. If I ever go anywhere else with a very different culture than the U.S., I'll always have that respect for the culture. And I feel if I went out of country later for the first time, I probably wouldn't have developed the same amount of respect I do for culture as I do now.
That's awesome. And then what about talking to other teenagers? What tips would you have for teenagers who are getting ready to go to Thailand for the first time?
I would say just save up your money, because it's really fun and easy to spend a lot of money.
Lots of good shopping.
Yeah. Of course, respect culture, and don't be weirded out if someone just comes up to you and starts a conversation with you, because there was many times in Thailand where just people would just come up to me and start talking to me, and I'd be like, all right, I guess I'm having a conversation with you now.
Yeah, sometimes they just want to practice their English.
Yeah, it's just really fun to get to know all these people, So I feel just as long as you respect the culture and have fun,
Yeah, and learn a few basic words like thank you and hello. You use those words a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I think we all went there knowing by heart how to say hello, thank you, and yes.
Right.
And not yes.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important, and especially it goes a long way when you show them you're at least trying to speak their language and making that effort. So, well, Ryan, thank you so much for talking to me about Thailand. It's fun to relive all that stuff with you.
Yeah, it really is. I feel like this has been super fun.
Yeah, and what a great way to kill a couple hours of like quarantine time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for listening, travelers. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and consider leaving a much appreciated review. For more travel inspiration or customized travel itineraries, questions, or heck, just to say hi, you can find me at www.greatwestvacation.com or on any of the social media platforms under the @GreatWestVacation handle.